Hey all, Hawk Carlton with Carlton Carnivores here. We're taking a short video today to focus on a beautiful plant that is just about to go out of its prime here. This is Lilium catesbaei, catesbes or pine lily. These guys are a rare bog-dwelling species that occurs throughout the southeastern U.S. from Louisiana to Virginia approximately. They average up to about 2 feet tall and grow, as you can see, kind of a very skinny, twiggy format with very thin, tapered leaves. They don't really get much flashier than this until, of course, late summer when they produce their huge singular flowers at the very top. These flowers can be over 10 inches across and range through a number of different color variations. The most common is kind of like this, a brilliant red-orange with those yellow bases to the petals. I can get this to focus, there we go. And the yellow often spotted with darker red in the base. Very thin bases make this a really odd-looking petal shape. And keep in mind, these aren't actually all petals. You do have some petals, and then the sepals are actually modified as well to look just like the petals, adding to the color. These guys tend to grow in the same environments as the pitcher plants that you can see in the background here. All of those that are starting to go dormant or go through their last growth phases before fall really hits. These guys, the lilies, tend to grow in slightly drier environments than a lot of the pitcher plants do, though. They like the drier borders of bogs and swamps, or they'll grow out in the open pine savannas where there's very well-drained soil. So they like to stay moist, but they do not generally like to sit soaking wet in water all the time. So that's something you have to keep in mind when you try and grow them. Now, the pine lily tends to reach maturity if you grow it from seed in about 5 to 7 years on average, sometimes faster if they're properly fertilized. And they're fairly slow to divide. The bulb that's hiding down within the pot there will eventually split into multiple pieces, and from there you can pull them apart, but this often takes a couple of years to get each one to actually divide, especially if they put their energy into flowering every year. Now, this is the only one that I have, but hopefully it'll start dividing soon, since it's been doing pretty well all year here. Or if I'm really lucky, I don't know if they actually self-pollinate or not, but if they do, maybe I'll get a handful of seeds that I can try to germinate. Of course, around here, the growing season is rapidly coming to a close, so it may not have the time to develop seeds before winter actually sets in. Fingers crossed that I am wrong and I'll get a few, but otherwise we'll be relying on the bulbs. Now, probably the best soil to grow these guys in is a mix of peat moss and either perlite or sand, preferably heavy on the other materials, not so much the peat, so that it gives it a good, well-draining consistency. And if you keep these like I do alongside the pitcher plants, grow them in a shallower or drier tray, maybe alongside species like Sarracenia aureophila that like it to dry out during summer. Or if you grow them in a place like here, all the trays are kind of tilted in one direction, so one end is wetter for longer than the other. Grow them on the drier end of the tray so that they dry out first and kind of have that period in between heavy waterings. As the season progresses here, I'll start producing more videos focusing on a lot of the plants, especially the things indoors, since herping season is just about over around here, and so we'll be heading back inside, dealing with the plants and animals inside. So keep an eye out for further videos on some of the other carnivorous plants, Pinguicula, Nepenthes, Utricularia perhaps, and some of the other animals that I have been working with recently. There's a couple who have arrived more recently, so I may showcase them soon enough. Until next time, I'm Hawk Carlton with Carlton Carnivores.